Welcome to Real Talk. I'm your host, Jasvir Rabban. Send us your questions, your concerns, anything that you want to be talking about, that you want us to be talking about, to info@yogiofsound.com. Please join me in welcoming Yogi of Sound, Professor Surinder Singh. Sat Kirtar Yogi Ji. Wonderful to have you back onto Real Talk. I want to continue where we were talking last week. The topic took us from the inheritance of the titles Kaur and Singh to actually talking about Akal Takat. And that's what our questions are more related around, is if we wanted to bring in some form of a bridge between what Akal Takat should represent versus the current reality of today's day and age. And I mentioned some of the topics last week, some of the different things. If we were talking just about basic things, because you were suggesting that if we advocate on an individual level, that might make a difference, just like you tried to do when you were helping to educate and create more awareness on singing shabads in the rag that they're written in Guru Granth Sahib, which seems to be a pretty basic principle, considering that in the Ret Maryada it tells you that you should be singing kirtan in rag. But the fact that the global Sikh community doesn't adhere to that, there's no governance because the Gurdwara allow that rule to be broken, basically, because if it's written in the Guru Granth Sahib that Shabads are in Rag, if the Ret Maryada says that, the Shabad should be sung in Rag when you're doing Kirtan, but in Gurdwara this isn't happening, that's a problem. So it means that there's not a strong measure of quality control. If we were talking about just this one topic for now, how do you think that that could be addressed?
Before I address this question, I would like to say that my head bows to Sri Akal Takht Sahib for its authority, not who's sitting on the seat. That can be a weak person leading it, because remember, Sri Akal Takht Sahib is there to address our social practices and cultural practices and help us to have a law and order amongst us as a community, amongst as in the Sikh nation. So, but my loyalty and my alliance is like I follow the Sri Akal Takht Sahib. When people refuse to follow Sri Guru Granth Sahib, how can you expect, or I can expect them to be loyal to Sri Akal Takht Sahib? When there were communities, for example, let me not go too far, but go into colonial Punjab. And what they did was, the very first thing was creating a disconnection and building a gap and endorsing nihilism and raising some, which made logical sense at that point. Those sort of things, creating that for Sikh ethics to be weakened among the practitioners. So, who brought the power of Sri Akal Takht Sahib to this level today? It was used politically, and then it was used politically against the Sikh nation. So, if it can be used to bring Sikh nation down, it can also be used to strengthen the Sikh practices. So, well, I'm optimistic. I'm looking positively that Guru Sahib given us so much wisdom. We just have to apply that science. Sri Akal Takht Sahib have very clearly defined that Guru's Bani should not be altered under any circumstances and conditions, but at the same time, under the Sikhism program, the British Empire, colonial Punjab, tried to do exactly that, to create the rift between the practitioners and the system. And Sri Akal Takht Sahib in between those times sometime got muted by force, of course. We were not in a condition. Uh, it's Sri Akal Takht Sahib and the forces, Sikh forces, they were still struggling in colonial Punjab. And now they're still struggling in India. So that freedom, what we are all seeking, that justice, which we're saying is if is a pedophile, it should be stripped away from the title and or called upon, or justice should be served by the Sri Akal Takht Sahib. I
Mhm.
still have a faith and a belief. I think we as a nation, Sikh nation, I'm talking about Punjabis, Americans, British, Germans, Spanish, all of the Sikhs, for us to, we need to look into what is our contribution. Are we loyal to Sri Guru Granth Sahib? Are we loyal to our Sikhi? Or the Singh is just a label? We only use Gurdwara for the things we want Gurdwaras to serve us with. You know, is it fear driven? That we are God fearing people. We becoming that. That's what the colonial Punjab wanted, that God fearing people, where Guru Nanak Sahib's ideology was God loving people. Sri
Mm.
Akal Takht Sahib was helping us to be in love with Kartapuruk, not be afraid of Kartapuruk. But how after Ranjit Singh, the power got shifted into the hand of British, and they carried on thumping us and creating a bad name. Jasvir ji, you went through a little research program yourself. You've seen how British were trying to build a clock tower, how they were trying to put Sri Harmandir Sahib on lease for it to be a profitable business. When you're in the hand of other ideology, these things are inevitable. So what happened? We got stronger. We strengthened our system. We got united, and we defeated them. And we have to do the same thing. That's why we are so uh, driven by a one person's decision. And when Sikhs will start thinking about empowering, what Sikhs had, Sri Akal Takht Sahib, when we all will follow the rules and regulation set by the community, and if there are changes has to be made, of course, in the laws in parliament, so they sit down and talk about it and they bring the new acts, we can do the same things. But at the moment we have to come out of the blame game, and we need to stop saying that Sri Akal Takht Sahib is nothing.
No,
Sri Akal
Yogi,
Takht Sahib, still, that's the only hope left for this lost community.
this is not a blame game, Yogiji. And I think that this is the disconnect. Like right now, I'm saying that I haven't got a connection in the same way that you have, not because I'm born in England, but because I've never seen this throne of authority in action. And you're saying that historically, just because that throne was given the most authority and should have that authority, therefore I should blindly continue to follow in a similar respect as yourself. That I should say that Akal Takat is everything. I said already in the previous shows that I don't dispute the authority. I'm questioning the practicality. That's where my question is right now. I would love for Akal Takat to be, you know, in its full valor and power. But I, as a Sikh, I have ideals which are based on the teachings of Gurbani, that we should be living in a just world. Now, my questions are simple, that if there's something written in the Reth Maryada, who is accountable? Yes, the individual Sikhs and also the institutions like the Gurdwara should be adhering to that. They're not. That's point number one. So now whose job is it to go and measure the accountability? If you have any governing body, so if you think about a corporation, right? You have HR, you have, finance, you have admin, you have all of the different departments that monitor all of the different layers of quality of each department. Now, in my head, I would love to see Akal Takht operate with an excellent infrastructure that allows all of the Gurdwara across the world to have accountability to Akal Takht, where there isn't a contradiction in the practices within the Gurdwara, because now people buy a building and make their own Gurdwara. So it's like it's my Gurdwara. Therefore, I can run it however I want to and do whatever I want to, which is going to be different to the other Gurdwara, which is different to the other Gurdwara. So, as a young person who goes to all three of those Gurdwara, I'm going to have such a confusing image of what Sikhi or Sikhism is supposed to be, because everything is different in each of these places, right? For me, Akal Takht should stand with the values given by Guru Nanak of equality. There should not be caste based Gurdwara, full stop. It doesn't matter which country they're in, it doesn't matter how they're justified, they should not exist. It's that simple, because we know that the caste system is against the values of our gurus. But if communally we allow those gurdware and we go to those gurdware and we put our peta there as well, right? We are complicit to encouraging that system. Now, the governing body is Akal Takht. They should be the ones that come in and send one of their, authorized representatives to come in and make those correct adjustments. It doesn't mean shut down the Gurdwara, it means change the name. So it's inclusive.
I
What's
may
your
say something
Mhm.
here sorry to interrupt you. Sri Akal Takht Sahib is governing body of the seekers, the Sikhs, not the hyenas and jackals in the camouflage, or in the those traitors who are there lookalike Sikhs to stab Sikhi. Uh, they will do anything to bring Sri Akal Takht Sahib into a bad light. And that is what we need to also understand. Those who are spiritually awakened, those who are learning from Sri Guru Sahib, need to also understand that what is our responsibilities. Sri Akal Takht Sahib calling the Gurdwara Sahib from UK, we will know that there is like more than 60% of the Gurdwaras will refuse. They don't care about anybody. They don't even care about Sri Guru Granth Sahib, because it is just their business. And but the problem here, Jasvir Kaurji, is rooted in a community and its consciousness, own consciousness. We expect a law to do everything, but we don't want to do anything for the law. When you go put £5 into Golok of those are doing the wrong practices, we are partners in crime. We are promoting that. We're giving them money to have the title as this is the Khan Gurdwara, Jat Gurdwara, this is Ravidas, these sort
Mhm.
of things. When there are disputes over, okay, ਸਾਡੇ ਬੁੱਢਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਗੋਡੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੱਲਦੇ, ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੁਰਸੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਹੀ ਬਹਿਣਾ ਤੇ ਕਰ ਲੋ ਜੋ ਕਰਨਾ. These are, this is nonsense. This is not challenging Sri Akal Takht Sahib. This is challenging Guru Amar Das Maharaj. When we are stooped so low, the governance, there's only one way then. And that way will not, seriously will not work, because now we are talking about international borders and international laws. What makes sense here probably is not supported by the law of the country where Sri Akal Takht Sahib is. And we have to address those things in that sensitivity too. But
Yeah,
remember,
caste
Sri
system isn't
Korji,
something that is, governed by a country. That's governed by our morals. If we choose to be Sikh, if we choose that path and those titles, then we have accepted to oppose the caste system, not be complicit to it.
Sri Korji, you as a Sikh, you learn in from Sri Guru Sahib, Sri Guru Granth Sahib, when you read the Bani, Suhi Mahla Panjwa, don't you feel responsible to utter that Bani, to live that Bani in Suhi? Isn't this only your responsibility? And if I say Sri Akal Takht Sahib should, call everybody in who's not following and punish them, that's a little bit, I'm being a bit naive here that, there are corruptions which is done by the community itself, and they're refusing their responsibility, and they're denying their liability, and they're blaming Sri Akal Takht Sahib. There are people who are drinking, we know, and have tobacco shops, we know, and they are the presidents of the Gurdwara. What did we do? What powers we hold? We say like Sri Akal Takht Sahib have lost its powers. Who is who played a role in that? Who didn't we play any role in that? Who brought the Badals, for example, into the powers? Who, being uneducated and selling your vote under one pint of alcohol or some drug and some money? Was that a fair? Was supporting a criminal and then trying to justify, is this a, is that a fair? If Akal Takht, uh, under the influence or political powers got misused, and we think it is being hijacked by crooked, what is, as a Sikh, my responsibility? As a
Okay, so
Sikh,
let me
what am I supposed to do?
I agree. I agree that we have an individual responsibility. And yes, that's what we're seeing around us in the whole world, that, the bodies that we look to make the corrections and do the right thing haven't done that. So now the people are rising to ask for justice, and they're protesting until that justice is served. I understand that. At the beginning, you said that there's a difference between people who are crooked and they're camouflaged, right? Now, somebody like me, I don't know the difference. If I see somebody who has a turban, who has a beard, or who has that representation that we attach to Sikhi, I'm going to give them that respect. That's just how I've been brought up. Now, how do I know who's a crook and who's the right person sitting, in the Gurdwara, in those spaces, to abuse the system or to do good? How am I supposed to understand that?
Then you need to go back into Sikhi. That's what Sikhi is. That it makes you conscious. So through Sikhi, you learn how to learn that what is against the nature. What is when Guru Sahib says, or Guru Sahib's ideology is being put forward like Kaji hoye rishvati, ਵੱਡੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹੱਕ ਗਵਾਹੀ ulti ਵਾੜ ਖੇਤ ਕੋ ਖਾਹੀ. This is Guru Nanak's concept shared to us by Guru Das Ji, that how Guru Nanak Sahib is raising the voice against the unjust and the criminal people, um, putting Islam to like a shaming Islam, and in a Hindu system, same thing. Guru is challenging those corruptions, and you think Guru didn't teach us to? If we are oblivious, if we don't know what is going wrong, we can't fix it. First, we must educate ourselves as a
Right.
Sikhs.
But
What is wrong? What is what are these traitors like Gulab Chand and all of these people who stabbed the Khalsa nation in the back because they were in the Bana? Sham Singh Atari is fighting Jasvir Kaur on one side, and they won the war. And this company, who was in a Khalsa uniform, left the battlefield, and run in British company came back, and that day we lost.
okay, I appreciate the historic examples. Um, my perspective, I want to know how it's relevant to me now, right? So let me give you an example. Recently, in the media, there has been a Sikh man, or somebody who calls himself Sikh, so a Punjabi man who has been working in a Gurdwara in the US for more than 2 decades, who is a convicted sex offender. Okay? Even after he was convicted, he was protected by the Gurdwara. He was allowed to continue to be exposed to young people, where he had admitted in court that he had sexually abused a young girl while teaching her kirtan. Okay? Now, if he's been protected by the Gurdwara, how are the innocent members of the Sangat who take their children there unknowingly supposed to know that this guy is a sex offender by looking at him? Because he carries the sarup, the appearance of what we would attach with a Sikh. So, how are we supposed to know that?
May I address this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm aware of this case. And this Gurdwara is not a, it's held by one person. It's a personal property of one person, number
But
one.
it's still a
And this
Gurdwara.
guy is a very, sorry, let me finish. This person serving there as a head priest is um, also a very good friend of the owner of the Gurdwara. Number one. Number two, the people go there. Are they aware of this, the court case, through the social media? And when, the people who went after this pedophile, also known to me, the friends of mine, but the community support, the lack of community awareness is
Did you say he's a friend of yours?
the person who took this pedophile to the court is a
Okay.
person who's known to me. No, I'm not a friend with this pedophile.
Okay. Thank
So I
you. Thank
must,
you. I was
yeah,
like, just clearing that up.
yeah.
Thank you.
But I am at the same time. What I am trying to say is, yes, there is the responsibility. There should be a law. Yes, but at the same time, we should be more aware so that we can make sure this law is never broken. And Sri
Mm.
Akal Takht Sahib, we are the people, the Sikh, the Seekers, those who feel in this pain, need to empower this, bring the glory back, bring that flag sky high, and so that, we not hurt ever again, ever in our life.
Mm.
And yes, I agree, DBS checks, every country have a law. In America, there's a law. There is UK have a law. These laws, I request this to the, if is there a president or general secretary of Gurdwara listening to this. This is my humble request. It doesn't cost more than £20 in the UK. Get the DBS. It is very, very important. I will say the charity I support, Raj Academy in States and in Canada and in the UK, Jasvir Kaur is the CEO of that academy. It took birth on one incident happened in Reading, and that was between Granthi and the little child, and it really broke my heart. It did. So I thought, I must do something that it doesn't get repeated like this. So I am responsible also as a Sikh, that okay, things went wrong. What did we then? We, the Sikhs, did to repair it or make sure that it doesn't happen again. We are
Mm.
responsible too, because we are the Sikhs who are under the flag, endorsing that law of Sri Akal Takht Sahib. We are the Sikh of Sri Guru Granth Sahib. So what is our responsibility as a Sikh? ਕਿ ਕੱਲਾ ਕੜਾ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਹੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਸਿੰਘ ਕਹਿਣਾ, ਪੱਗ ਬੰਨ ਲਈ, ਦਾੜੀ ਕੱਟ ਲਈ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਧੱਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਨਾਉਣਾ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਹਾਂ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੀ ਜਾਣੋ. ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, that's, see, we need to just come out of this gray zone, and either we are, either we're not. And problem is the core problem. The root of all of this, Jasveer Kaur ji, is education. When it comes to Sikhi, and Guru ne ki kita, sikhaya sanu, educate kita. जितने ਅਸੀਂ educate हो गए, ਅਸੀਂ ਚੱਕ ਕੇ corruption ਬਾਹਰ ਮਾਰੀ. You became phenomenal. And I think we need to reconfigure. The day we install Guru Nanak Ji's program, kaboom.
I want to believe that it's that simple.
It
Yes,
is
but
for me. My in my world, it's as simple as that. My physical world, I healed using Nanak Ji's program. I am doing well physically, mentally, spiritually because of Guru Nanak Ji's. yes, out there we feel that things are wrong and we should contribute. And let's contribute. Let's not expect others to do things. Let's do something ourselves.
Maybe that's our call to action, that if you're watching, you're listening, and you feel that you relate to everything we're talking about, even if you don't have a question, but you want to see this change, you want to help to bring this change, this reform, this re-education, reach out to us, email us info@yogiofsound.com, and help us to figure this out, because this is our individual responsibility of curating and creating a new space of Sikhi, which is equal, which is just, and which is actually connected with the Sikhi of Guru Granth Sahib. So upholding all of those principles that are written in Guru Granth Sahib and trying to practice them in our lives. If that's something that is important to you, that you care about, that you aspire to achieve, then reach out to us and help us to figure out how we can build this together. I want to thank you for tuning in to Real Talk. Yogiji, this has been incredible. Thank you so
Before
much. Mhm.
Yeah, before you go, I'm just wanna just drop a hint that America, Canada, and Europe, why couldn't we give a Jathedar? Out of 5 Jathedars, we should represent also. Let's think about it. And that way we can have our representation, our issues, our matters according to the social laws here. That's another way to look into it. Thank you so much, Jasvir, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogiji.
Sat Karta.
Sat Karta.